Last time we talked about the importance of lining up your pieces at the seam line, but how you pin those pieces can also have a significant impact on the neatness of your seams. Hello, and welcome to another episode of Things You May Not Know. To start with, it's almost always best to pin perpendicular to your seam. Pinning parallel to the seam can allow your fabric to shift up and down, which is super annoying when you're trying to match things up, whether that be for pattern matching or seams. Pinning perpendicularly locks your layers in place. If you're working with material that's susceptible to pinholes, you can pin parallel within the seam allowance, but in that situation, I would actually recommend switching to clips instead of pins. Another exception would be darts. I recommend that you pin directly on the dart legs to keep everything as precise as possible, but that's a subject for another video. The very first thing I do when putting my pieces together is to pin at the top and the bottom, making sure to line up at my seam lines. The next step would be to find any notches or marks and pin those where they should be. I would then pin the rest of my seam and sew. There may be times when you need to ease in part of your seam. This happens when one seam line is slightly longer than the other. Sometimes it's accidental, sometimes it serves a purpose. Things like shoulder seams, sleeve heads, or princess seams might have one side be slightly longer to help with shaping. Now, sleeve heads are a whole other ballgame that require a different method, but for everything else, here's what I like to do. Pin your ends and your notches first. See how this section is sticking up a bit? Grab the fabric between two pins and gently pull until the longer section lays flat. While keeping this tension, put a pin in the middle of the section. Repeat this process until the seam has been fully pinned. Doing it this way ensures that the extra length is distributed evenly and that there's less chance for any accidental tucks. One final tip. When you put your pieces into the machine to sew, put the side that's longer on the bottom. On most sewing machines, the feed dogs naturally pull the bottom fabric just a little bit more than the top. You can use this to your advantage to help you ease in seams. And now you know. If you enjoyed this video and would like to see more, be sure to give me a follow. If you can think of any questions or topics you'd like me to cover, please leave me a comment or send me a DM. Goodbye. Questions or topics you'd like me to cover? Why can't I say this word? I said perpendicularly. I can't say cover.